Now is a really good time to be a Metal Gear Solid fan. After being a basically dormant franchise for a good 5 or so years, the series has finally gained some new content. We're not only getting a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 called Metal Gear Solid Delta, but we also got the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1, and it looks like we're going to get a second volume sometime in the future. Is the franchise in a perfect state? Hell no! The fans still have bad blood with Konami for mistreating and firing series creator Hideo Kojima, and the PC port of the Master Collection is not very good. But Konami is making progress, they're doing a lot of things, and since Konami is making progress, so is the current state of Metal Gear, and I have what I think is a really good idea to breathe even more life into the series. VR technology has advanced rapidly over the past 10 years. Stuff like the Valve Index, Oculus Quest, all are devices that I pictured only existing in the far-off future when I was younger. It's amazing how far we've come. If you can't figure out what I'm suggesting already, I'll just say it outright. I think the best way for Konami to make new Metal Gear fans is for them to make a VR game. Now, I'm not saying that Metal Gear Solid Delta won't attract new fans. What I'm saying is that Metal Gear Solid Delta might not be the best place to start. Metal Gear Solid 3 is considered by most to be the peak of Metal Gear Solid when it comes to gameplay. It's perfected what made Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 so fun. That being said, that can be a problem later down the line. If Konami continues to remake previous games, they're going to run into some issues. The original Metal Gear Solid was already going to need some major updates for it to be on par with modern day gaming, but Metal Gear Solid 2 is way more similar to Metal Gear Solid 3. So Konami either makes 3 games with the exact same gameplay where the quality is just off a bit when compared to each other, or Konami changes a good chunk of things and creates an even more toxic internet fight about how Konami has ruined Metal Gear forever, which they probably have, but that's besides the point. Do you at least see why I'm a bit concerned about Metal Gear Solid Delta being the gateway for new Metal Gear fans? It just really seems like this really cool game could create some bad damage. So that's why I suggest a VR game. VR is incredibly popular nowadays, and is more accessible than ever. It's so accessible that some of my friends' siblings who are toddlers play VR games. And whether or not you agree with that, and think that's a good thing to do as a parent, you have to at least admit it's crazy that even people who are in lower income households can afford that stuff. The Oculus Quest and PlayStation VR are easy to get your hands on, and Metal Gear Solid also already has a relationship with VR. Since the first Metal Gear Solid, there have been VR missions, training protocols that are used in-universe to train soldiers. It's very important in Metal Gear Solid 2, and even as a part of Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, the game that everybody memes and talks about, the game that is eternal. Metal Gear is also known for its meta plot points, which can work wonderfully in a VR game. If Konami is interested in making a Metal Gear Solid 6 or a sequel to Revengeance, starting off with a meta VR experience would be perfect. Look, I'm just saying, if Five Nights at Freddy's can pull it off, so can Metal Gear. Maybe I'm just a dumb, pretentious homo who likes Metal Gear a bit too much, but I do think the concept of a Metal Gear VR game is a good one. Just look at this fan-made VR Metal Gear game. Just imagine a big Metal Gear Solid VR game where you can play remade levels from the first 2 Metal Gear games and the first Metal Gear Solid, moving my hands around to climb underneath containers, peeping over corners to see if enemies are near, maybe having the enemy tracker on our hand like a watch. I don't know, but it sounds awesome. Or maybe it's not, but if you say that, you'll make me cry, and I will cry, and I will tell your mom. But just the idea of a Metal Gear Solid VR game sounds awesome. It could just be a one-to-one recreation of the first MGS, but what I think would be really cool is a VR remake of the original Metal Gear. That would be amazing. Look, don't get me wrong, I love the Solid games. We've gotten about 2 Snake Eaters now if you count the demake for the 3DS, and we've already got a remake of the first MGS, the Twin Snakes for GameCube. Plus, the first Metal Gear game is incredibly important to the story of MGS, so I think it's about time that it gets a remake. Give the story a modern update. I don't know, but it feels like the game deserves a bit of a polish up. What do you guys think of all this? Should Konami continue to make Metal Gear remakes, and should they make a VR one? Do you think Konami is really trustful now? Do you think that they're going to treat Silent Hill and Metal Gear with the respect they deserve, or do you think they'll go back to their path of being dormant and dead? Who knows, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you have anything interesting to say, or just want to call me stupid, make sure to put it in the comments. I love to read them. I'll see ya in the next one. Bye-bye.